Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, and normally I introduce myself as the game master, but actually, Howard Warnes ran this one. And today we're talking about Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. But before we get into that, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. We've got an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. So, with all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to this one takes place in the dimension known as Earth K during the Death of Superman storyline. Superman and Doomsday fight Metropolis, and at the end of the day, Doomsday kills the Man of Steel. In the Fortress of Solitude, the being known as the Eradicator suits up and heads out, literally leaving the front door standing wide open. Inside the fortress, for some time now, there lies the Infinity Gauntlet. Superman obtained it in a previous game session, which we detailed in an earlier video on this channel, and Superman bound it to himself. Nobody but him could wield it. But now, Superman is dead, and the Infinity Gauntlet is bound to nobody. So the cosmic being known as Thanos finally takes it, putting it on and flexing its powers. Thanos says it's time he took his place at the head of the table of the cosmic pantheon as the greatest god who ever lived. Which brings us to the main plot. The Silver Surfer crashes through the ceiling of the Sanctum Sanctorum, warning Doctor Strange that Thanos is coming. Thanos was dead, but Death herself resurrected him so that through him she could remake the universe as she saw fit. No longer do the laws of nature bind him. His will can bend the very fabric of reality. He is all, and all that he is now at his command. The Silver Surfer rests on Doctor Strange's couch and says such power in the hands of a madman means it could be the end of everyone. The Silver Surfer says that he and Drax the Destroyer confronted Thanos only for Thanos to use the Soul Gem to rip out their souls. They found themselves inside the Soul Gem where they encountered Adam Warlock. Thanks to Warlock, they returned to the Earth K dimension, but by the time they returned to their physical bodies, Thanos had left. Silver Surfer hurried back to warn Earth, but got caught up in multiple adventures along the way, and he can only hope he's not too late. Elsewhere, Thanos goes to the realm of Death herself, where she and Mephisto are at. Thanos hopes to have earned her love, but he has not. Mephisto extends his sympathies. Thanos, trying to win her over, erects a grand shrine to Death itself, but still she spurns him. Thanos begs the question of what he's done to deserve such rejection. Mephisto has a sly smile and suggests it's not what he has done, it's what he has not done. And so, Thanos snaps his fingers, and half of all life vanishes. In Times Square, Spider Man witnesses this, and the snap makes his spider sense go crazy. Before his eyes, half the people in Times Square simply vanish. In Avengers headquarters, Steve Rogers watches Hawkeye and Cersei vanish before his eyes. Even on the Skrull homeworld, half of all life vanishes. So the surviving Skrulls prepare for war. On the Kree homeworld, they put together an armada of their own. While back in the Sanctum Sanctorum, Wong vanishes, and the Silver Surfer knows exactly who's to blame. A plane crashes in a city after its pilot vanished, so She-Hulk, Thunderstrike, and the White Vision rip the door off of the plane and help the survivors. As soon as they've finished, Steve Rogers assembles all available Avengers. He gives them a list of the heroes who vanished, and as he does so, Eric Masterson has a sense of imposter syndrome. He's not the original Thor, and he feels like this is way more than he can handle. Meanwhile, Doctor Doom goes to the home of Doctor Strange along with some of his Doom bots. Doom questions the Silver Surfer, who tells him what happened. Doctor Doom wants to gain the power of the Infinity Gauntlet for himself. So Strange warns him he'd be tampering with forces beyond his ken. Doom tells him that he shall then explain to him what he needs to know or suffer at the hands of Doom's servants. So Silver Surfer attacks Doctor Doom. They fight, and Doom wins. Doom orders his robots to persuade Doctor Strange to tell him what he needs to know, but suddenly the robots are torn apart. Doom turns and looks and sees Adam Strange and Pip the Troll have entered the scene. I said Adam Strange. I'm sorry. I meant Adam Warlock and Pip the Troll have entered the scene. It was Warlock who destroyed the robots and tells Doom he'd be wise to stand down. Adam Warlock tells the people here what he knows, and Silver Surfer tells Warlock what they know. Adam Warlock says he'll lead the heroes of Earth in an army to confront Thanos, but Doctor Doom thinks he should be the leader. Meanwhile, at Death's Shrine, Thanos has summoned Star Fox and Nebula and is torturing them. It's a weird scene with something akin to tentacles that end in mouths growing through them at odd angles as the characters spasm and flail. Star Fox, whose mouth has been deleted, thinks to himself that this power has caused Thanos to become truly insane, and now anything could happen. Thanos then warps reality. Nebula comes apart like ribbons, while Star Fox looks a bit like disassembled Tetris pieces. But still, Death is unamused. So Thanos tries a show of power with the gems, shattering a planet that Galactus was about to devour. And Galactus himself is in awe of this display of might, saying even the power he wields pales in comparison to the might of infinity itself. Thanos flexes, and on Earth, tidal waves completely destroy places like Japan and California. Coastal cities like New York crumble. The death toll is unimaginable. Truly, it seems to be the end of the world. Atlantis is no more, and even places like Olympus are destroyed. Infinite power at play, an ego gone wild, and depraved creativity. It is a masterpiece, Lord Thanos, says Mephisto. And yet, Death herself is unimpressed. So Thanos uses the Infinity Gauntlet to create a sort of female Thanos named Taraxia the Terrible, who is his submissive slave. As Taraxia kisses the cheek of Thanos, Death just walks away. Back on Earth, Adam Warlock and his group teleports to Avengers headquarters. The army is assembled. Heroes like Gambit, the Hulk, Iron Man, Namor, the former Red King, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, and Wolverine join the party. The heroes pool their abilities and travel to where Thanos is. Thunderstrike throws his hammer at Thanos, and Thanos smiles and freezes time. Even cosmic beings like the Watcher join in, but still, Thanos beats everybody here with ease. Mephisto whispers into the ear of Thanos that despite everything that's happened, Death is still not impressed. Mephisto says the heroes are buffoons, but they may yet be useful tools to impress Death herself. So what happens next is chaotic. Thanos unfreezes time, and Hulk and Drax both punch Thanos at the exact same time, sending him sailing. So Thanos shrinks the Hulk and tries to crush him. Thunderstrike hits Thanos, knocking him down, and Doctor Doom tries to steal the Infinity Gauntlet for himself. Thanos hits Doom with an energy blast, burning all of the green fabric off of him, leaving only the smoldering armor beneath. Wolverine dives onto Thanos and sinks all 6 claws into the chest of the Mad Titan. But Thanos uses telekinesis strong enough to bend adamantium and twists Wolverine into a contorted mess. Cyclops shoots Thanos with an optic blast, so Thanos encases the head of Cyclops in a cube, stopping the blast and cutting off his oxygen. Thanos then rips the white vision limb from limb. Paraxia rips off Iron Man's head, and Spider Man shoots webs onto the face of Thanos. Thunderstrike attacks again, but Thanos turns him into glass and then shatters him. Quasar attacks, and Thanos disintegrates his hands and quantum bands. Thanos then fights Steve Rogers, raising his hand to hit him. As the Silver Surfer flies in at breakneck speed, Adam Warlock's plan was for the Surfer to get his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet. The Silver Surfer fails. As a brief aside, there was a What If comic book where the Silver Surfer succeeded in this moment. The difference between the two timelines was basically, to put it in terms used by role playing games, in one timeline, the Silver Surfer rolled high enough on the dice to snatch the gauntlet off the hand of Thanos, while in the other timeline, he rolled low on the dice and failed. So the way we interpreted that was that Thanos had done nothing to bind the gauntlet to him. It was stealable. This whole mess was one dexterity roll away from being over, and this was the moment. So in the Earth K dimension, at that exact moment, the Silver Surfer doesn't fail because he didn't roll high enough. He fails because the Infinity Gauntlet vanished. So when the Silver Surfer got there, it was gone. There was nothing to grab. Almost all the aforementioned heroes were dead by now. Thanos was confused. He looked around the battlefield, not knowing what happened. Then he spotted the Infinity Gauntlet being worn by the Red King. The Red King reminds everyone that as a changeling, he has a power called Flicker Flash, which is infinite teleportation. So he teleported the Infinity Gauntlet onto his own hand, which was a dice action. Explaining what just happened was an automatic action. And for his last automatic action, he realizes how easily it would be for someone to take it from him, so he transfers the powers from the gems into himself. Thanos yells, "No!" and punches the Red King. The Red King does take a bit of damage, but since Thanos yelled no, which is an automatic action, and he moved over to where the Red King was standing, which is another automatic action, that means it's the end of his turn. On the Red King's turn, he heals the damage he just took. And to be clear, the way Howard ran this game was that it was just like making a wish. Basically, whoever had the gauntlet on could just wish for things and they happened. So regeneration was his first wish, which was an automatic action. For his second wish this turn, the Red King brings back all the heroes who died during this adventure. For his third automatic action, he asks them if they're all right. They say they are, and now that Thanos no longer has the item that Spider Man referred to as his bedazzled oven mitt, the heroes want payback, so they all attack Thanos. Thanos asks who dares oppose him, and the Red King says, "Actually, I'm just a bartender from a tiki bar." And framing it like that makes Thanos furious. What follows would be tedious to list, but suffice it to say, the Red King starts to undo everything Thanos did in this adventure. He brings back everyone Thanos killed, including those killed by tidal waves on Earth. He brings back Japan. He fixes everything. And this is where something weird happens. After Thanos gets beat up by pretty much all the heroes, a bunch of the heroes attack the Red King just because he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. It seemed really out of character to me, to be honest. And the players basically fell into two groups: those who were on the offensive, attacking the Red King, and those who were on the defensive, thinking he'd done nothing wrong at this point. It was almost like Marvel's Civil War, but we played this in the mid 90s, so it predated Civil War. Anyways, while everyone's duking it out and nobody's actually looking at the Red King, they're all looking at whoever they're fighting at the time. The Red King makes the real Infinity Gauntlet turn invisible. Then he creates a fake Infinity Gauntlet. And one of Howard's characters takes the fake Infinity Gauntlet. and their little Civil War thing that the heroes were doing ends. The Red King reminds everyone that while the White Queen and Black Queen of the Hellfire Club had corrupted him years ago, in the 80s, it was Dagger who used her powers to purge him of all corruption. He also reminds them that he literally just brought them back from the dead. So clearly he's doing good things, and attacking him without any sort of conversation first seems pretty weird. The heroes who'd attacked him all offer up half baked reasons for why they did so, and honestly, none of it really made any sense. It was more about the players than the characters. Anyways, so that brings us to the epilogue. Howard's GMPC takes the fake Infinity Gauntlet back to the Fortress of Solitude, where it is placed on a white pedestal. He leaves, and the fortress is sealed up. As far as the players are concerned, nobody is strong enough to open that big Silver Age door, so therefore, nobody will ever see the Infinity Gauntlet ever again. All the heroes who'd suddenly decided they hated the Red King for no reason seem pretty happy with this. The Red King, however, who now has the power of the Infinity Gems after years of not having them, sees this and thinks that that's kind of stupid. After all, just because the death of Superman just happened and Superman himself is not around to open the door, there is still a pre-crisis Bizarro running around, and Phantom Zoners have a way of getting out from time to time. So it's a foolish assumption that somebody uh, could not just get their hands on that Infinity Gauntlet somehow. The Red King tries to even think of a place where one could put the Infinity Gauntlet and be absolutely sure that nobody could ever get their hands on it. But at the end of the day, there's a power in the book of the role playing game that would allow characters to do it no matter where they put it. And as long as the Red King is secretly wearing the real Infinity Gauntlet, which is still invisible, by the way, then at least he knows no villains will be able to do anything. So he goes back to the Continuum Bar and Grill and pours people drinks. And all the while, the various patrons have no idea that the bartender of this unsuspecting tiki bar is handing them a drink with the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand. That when they take a drink from him, they're just inches away from infinite power itself. And that's also interesting because the Continuum Bar and Grill was based on an old game called Tales from the Floating Vagabond. And in that role-playing game, the bartender is supposed to be all-powerful so that he can break up any bar fights that might break out. Anyways, one such patron is Powerhouse, the hero formerly known as Superboy, who's drowning his sorrows after a recent fight he had with his replacement, the new clone Superboy, aka Con-El. The bartender asks him what's on his mind, so he spills his guts about Necron and Superboy and about how he was taken 5 years into the future where he witnessed the end of the world. And Powerhouse is trying to assemble an army of heroes to save the world and stop all that from happening, but so far, not going so great. The bartender considers the situation, and when dimension travel is involved, it's actually the Infinity Gauntlet's one weakness. So whether or not he can save the world, even with infinite power, is uncertain. But he tells Powerhouse that he'll do what he can to help. And this seems like a pretty good stopping point. This game was actually very controversial in our gaming group, and it never made sense to me. It would have been one thing if the argument would have been the old cliche about how absolute power corrupts absolutely, but nobody said that day. Really, if I'm being super honest, it was more like that game that kids used to play on the playground where you tackled whoever had the football, no matter who it was. It seemed to be that, where a bunch of players were just in that mode, where anyone who had the Infinity Gauntlet needed tackled. It was very strange. Granted, we were all teenagers when we played this game in the 90s, and this game began at midnight, and there was a lot of beer and Taco Bell involved. And some of the players also were friends of friends rather than our usual gaming group. So there's that too. But for better or worse, that is what happened. Half of the players hated this one, the other half had a pretty good time. Hopefully, you fall into the half that had a good time hearing how this adventure went. If so, as always, we would love it if you supported the channel by smashing that like button. Check to see if you're still subscribed because YouTube loves to unsubscribe you without telling you. And leave us a comment. From everyone here at the longest running superhero role playing game on earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.